Hello and welcome to another edition of the PHNX D-backs podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla. Of course, I am your mayor of PHNX. I'm also a very, very sad Suns fan. Also joining me is another very sad Suns fan. He's the vice mayor of PHNX. He's also nicknamed Thunderstick. It's the one and only Jesse Friedman.
It's been kind of a downer day, Derek. I think Arizona sports fans are just not feeling it today, and I know we'd love to capture some of that energy for our purposes here with the Diamondbacks, but I think a day of mourning is in order after what happened last night. Maybe a couple days. It might take people a few days to get over this, and that's understandable given the very, very high highs and the very, very low that ended the Sun season this year.
I'm not okay, Jesse Friedman. Today I got myself a wonderful package in the mail.
What was in the package?
It was some awesome PHNX shirts from the PHNXLocker.com. Yeah, it was just one wonderful reminder.
They're all
after the next. One reminder after the next of what happened last night. So a bad time to get a wonderful package, but like you said, we need some mourning. I might wear this one just for the mourning purposes, but yes, we do have the Arizona Diamondbacks to pick us all up, and that's definitely a statement that I would have said, Derek, you're drunk, in saying that. Like 3 month Derek 3 months ago would have said that to present day Derek. But what is not great, Giselle, I'm sorry that you got yours too. We all got ours today. What's not great, I think that's honestly, let's take a moment to reflect on the fact that these are being sent out by Denver Nugget fans, and they are very bitter and they are very happy about what happened with the Sun. So don't think that these didn't arrive on time. I don't know. I'm blaming some Nuggets fans, but I was taking a glance at the power rankings, Jesse, and the Arizona Diamondbacks still don't have a lot of respect. I guess that's expected. I guess the power rankings folks do not kind of jump the gun with excitement in the same way we do, but kind of taking a look across the landscape, The Athletic has the D-backs ranked 17th in baseball. CBS Sports has them at 16th. Sports Illustrated has them at 19th. And MLB.com has them ranked at 20th. And I guess my question here is it fair to still rank them lower than teams that they've beaten handily, like the Marlins, or or teams that they have a better record than? Or is this a case where this people need to put some respect on the D-backs names?
Well, color me crazy, Derek, but I honestly, you saying those numbers, my initial reaction is that the Diamondbacks are getting a fair amount of respect. I mean, let's not forget this team. I mean, maybe people want to forget, but this team won 52 games last year, Derek. And after a month of playing pretty good baseball, above 500 baseball, suddenly they're 17th, 16th, 19th, 20th, depending on who you're talking to. I think that's a pretty decent amount of respect. I mean, we all know the way baseball works. Your record after 35 games is not necessarily representative of your record at the end of the season. And this shows me that people are buying into what the Diamondbacks have done so far. If you really thought that this was all a fluke, you'd probably still have them in the, low mid 20s somewhere still, but that's not what people are doing. So yeah, I mean, I'm honestly a little surprised in the other direction that the Diamondbacks are ranked so high.
I definitely in some cases, I think looking back again, Derek 3 months ago would have never imagined the Diamondbacks would be ranked 16th by any one of these publications. But at the same time, too, when you look at the list, there are a lot of teams, like I said, with worse records, and they're not jumping the gun. They're not necessarily being so reactionary. They are being reactionary, I think, to the Diamondbacks starting pitching that even us Diamondbacks fans, anti-Diamondbacks people, everybody kind of expected the starting pitching to kind of come back down to earth a bit. And it really hasn't. They've maintained a certain level of, I guess, excellence is what I would say, right? But again, is it time to really start thinking of them as this predominantly dominant team when it comes to starting pitching, or do you think we'll still see that regression that we predicted earlier?
We're probably still due for some regression. If you look at some of the underlying stats here, the Diamondbacks are not top 2 or top 3 in pretty much every pitching category except for ERA. The end results, the amount of runs they've given up has been excellent, right up there with the Dodgers, like we talked about yesterday. But if you look at their strikeout rate and their ability to prevent hard contact and their walk rate and some of these other things, it's clear that their rotation has been good this year, but it still doesn't, it's not indicative of a top 2, top 3 rotation in baseball. So I think there is still quite a bit of room for the starting rotation to regress. And that's not to say at all that it's still not going to be good. I mean, the Diamondbacks team, their starting rotation ERA, I think you said it yesterday, it was like 2.48 or something like that.
Currently 2.51, and it's the second best in Major League behind the Los Angeles Dodgers.
So the Dodgers overtook them. Yeah. So 2.51. I mean, there's a fair amount of leeway there. You can regress from 2.51 a fair amount and still be one of the better starting rotations in baseball. And that's likely what will happen here. 2.51 is a number that really no team ever maintains over the course of a full season. And there's still a few guys, namely Madison Bumgarner, I think is the biggest one that comes to my mind, where the results that he's gotten, the run prevention that he's been able to put out there this season is just not consistent with the way that he's pitching. If you watch him pitch, if you look at the number of strikeouts, the number of swings and misses, the number of walks, some of the other things, he's been pretty fortunate so far. And, hopefully the wheels don't come off in Los Angeles today, but we'll have to see how his season continues.
You want me to blow your mind here with a stat, Jesse, on the starting pitching?
Please do.
Tomorrow's starter, Merrill Kelly, has a 1.71 ERA through his first 7 starts of the season. Any guesses as to what his ERA was through his first 7 starts of last season, a season that we considered him to be the best pitcher on the staff?
He didn't start off well last year, if I
correct.
remember right. It was pretty bad. I'm going to say it was like 6.5, maybe.
You're actually overshooting a little bit. It's 5.40, but yes, it's in the area of being so much higher than it currently is. And again, when you take that, you average his 2019, that was 4.85 after 7 starts. It does seem like there's going to be some balance that comes for him, for all these guys, right? In fact,
yeah.
You know who the first person that would agree with us on that is? Brent Strom. I had a chance to talk to Brent Strom the other day, and
he's a matter-of-fact kind of a guy. He's not gonna he's gonna be realistic.
You aren't lying, because he definitely had the here's the thing about Brent Strom. He will not be the kind of person to tell you straightforward that he has any kind of real high expectations at times. He doesn't feel like it's him that's creating this environment for these pitchers to thrive, even though it's hard to not suggest in some way that
where else is it coming from, right?
Right? I mean, I understand being humble, right? But this was, I guess, another case of his humility, was when I talked to him about what he's been able to do with the staff so far. The first thing he said, even using the hand motion, was pump the brakes on all that, because again,
pump the brakes on what? Did
you talk
say...
about the starting pitching? I was basically like, so how have things been? It seems like you really helped out with turning the starting pitching around, and I think he's just saying it's not, time will tell, but there's too small of a sample size right now for anyone to decide that this pitching staff has really turned things around. In the past, we've seen that they have a good month, and then they can't maintain it. So far, they started out really slow. You couldn't really say April was a great month, but since April 26th, like we said on yesterday's show, they're actually tied for the best record in the National League at 12-6, and tied for the 4th best record in baseball. So, they're up there right now playing some excellent baseball, but not so much in the near future against the Cubs. So it's going to be interesting to see them and what they can do in this matchup against the Dodgers. I will say before we go on that, of course, and we'll talk about that in a second. Chris, Nick on the IL, and Jake Hager has been called up. But before we do that, we got to let you guys know that Jesse's going to have an article up on gophnx.com this week. And I'll have some stuff up as well. We'll both have some articles up. There's going to be a lot of articles about the Suns, of course. And
our site will be overrun.
If you need a place to be enlightened and maybe feel a little not alone as a Suns fan with a lot of anger pent up about the way that this series went for them, make sure to come over and join us at gophnx.com. You can get your annual membership and you'll get yourself some free t-shirts over at the PHNX Locker. And guess what, guys? We have an excellent
Derek, it may well just be me, but I'm not sure that people can hear you right now. Or at the very least, I currently cannot hear you. Our producer also says that she cannot hear Derek at the moment. So, right. Hey, there we go. He's back.
I hit my mic with the stupid shirts that I'm very sad about getting, but I still love these shirts very much. They're going to go into a special place in the back of my drawer for at least the next 6 to 8 weeks while I get over the Suns loss. But then I'll be wearing them. And of course, you can get some D-back shirts because, hey, we're the guys now. We're the chosen ones, and we'll see what these Arizona Diamondbacks can do now that they actually have the floor, if you will. So, of course, get your membership, get your free t-shirt at phnxlocker.com. If you're not interested in that free t-shirt for the annual membership, get your month-to-month option. You can get your first month for just 50 cents. Try us out, see if you like us, and maybe you'll stick around. Hopefully you'll stick around and enjoy all of the wonderful writing from everybody at PHNX, including Jesse and myself on the Arizona Diamondbacks. But you'll get discounts regardless of your membership status to our PHNX Locker, as well as access to our members-only Discord. So please join us over here and be part of the PHNX family. Moving on, Jesse, we have a big series here against the Dodgers, obviously coming up. Taking a look here at the probable starters. There's still some spots to be determined, but a favorable matchup here, at least potentially in Game 3, and with Merrill Kelly as well. So Madison Bumgarner, that he's leading the way here against Tony Gonzalen, who's been very good this year. I guess my question here are the Diamondbacks starting rotation right now at least, able to hang with the Dodgers starting rotation?
I mean, the numbers are, like we said earlier, I mean, their starting rotation ERAs are almost exactly the same for the season. But I mean, Tony Gonzalen has been genuinely very, very good. I mean, I don't think his 1.33 ERA is a fluke in some sense. I mean, he's not going to maintain that for an entire season, but he's genuinely been excellent this year. Whereas Madison Bumgarner's pitched well, but I think there's been a lot of batted ball luck that has really helped him out there as well. So the D-backs have their work cut out for them, and I mean that goes for any team lining up against the Los Angeles Dodgers. But the Dodgers have shown over the last couple weeks that they can be beaten. The Pirates beat them in a series. I think the Phillies. I want to say the Phillies won the series, or at the very least, they at least won a game or two in that series. So the Dodgers can be beaten, but I wouldn't go as far as to say the Diamondbacks necessarily have the pitching advantage in any game in this series. Zach Gallen is not set to pitch in this series, as far as we know. We still don't know who the Game 3 starter is. I think it's possible Corbin Martin gets called up for that one. The D-backs might bring up someone from the minors just because it's a doubleheader, and so they might want to find a way to save some arms with that situation. But we'll have to see what they do there.
The Clutch Canuck there said that they'd be very happy to be over 500 at the end of this week, and I think I'd take that. And of course, I'm not. Don't think that's not an opportunity for me to once again use this match. Just stay over the peak of Mount 500, 1 game, 2 games, 5 games. As long as they can do that, I think this season will continue to be looked at as a success. But I mean, really, this series with the Dodgers is their biggest test, I think, so far. At the time when they faced the Dodgers and beat them 2-1 in the previous meeting, I don't feel like there was any of this now gaining pressure, gaining expectations that are kind of behind them, right? We've seen them in the last couple of games. We've seen the fan reaction. We've seen our own reaction. We've not been very happy about this. So it comes at a time where, you have to wonder, is this Dodgers matchup that big of a deal? I feel like we've put a lot of hype into it, but realistically, is it that big of a deal at this point?
That's a good question. Probably not. I mean, I think it's hard to make a convincing argument that like any kind of May baseball is like that big of a deal at the end of the day. But I mean, chances are the Diamondbacks probably, if we're being realistic, they're probably not going to find themselves in the thick of the division race, by the end of the season. And so games like this do have importance because it's not necessarily like you're competing for the division at the end of the day. It's probably not going to come down to the wire or anything, but there's still, there's still something to be said for these games where the Diamondbacks are going toe to toe with a team that a lot of people think, myself included, is probably the best team in baseball. And they already beat them 2 out of 3 games this season. And, the Dodgers certainly remember that and are prepared coming into this season to try to make sure that doesn't happen again. So I think the Dodgers are going to come out probably a little feisty, remembering what happened the last time around. The Dodgers made a lot of mistakes the last time these two teams played, and
they're going to be big mad. They're going to play like flawless baseball in this series.
They're going to be ready to go out there and try to put the Diamondbacks in their place. I mean, at least the place that they think the Dodgers, or at least they think the Diamondbacks belong in. So yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of energy. I don't know if it's a do or die game necessarily or do or die series necessarily, but these games are important.
Here's a discouraging stat. Merrill Kelly is 0-5 against the Dodgers in 8 career starts. So that's not very good. And also we talked about this yesterday, but the doubleheader on Tuesday is going to be the first ever doubleheader between these two teams, which again, with their history,
very weird.
Seems odd that it's their first ever doubleheader.
I mean, I guess you're not going to have a whole lot of rainouts in, Los Angeles and the
stop using logic. I hate when you use
stadium
logic.
That the Diamondbacks
I get it.
But it is still weird.
Very sunny here.
It is still weird.
Taking a look again at the all-city division, which we like to do. I shared this with our friends at Chicago and everywhere else, Denver. We still, I don't, this isn't up to date, I don't think, but this was from yesterday, and this is where we're at. I still think, I don't know if the Rockies won, but we're still in a good position. This is the division right now that we're worried about. No other division. The Dodgers are great and all. It's great to have them as competition, but really we here at PHNX, we just want to beat the other parts of all city. So that's all we're concerned with right now. Baby steps. We got to beat them, and then we worry about the NL West, because the NL West is going to continue to be very, very tough, Jesse.
It's true. And yeah, the Rockies are 17-17. So I think I want to say that what we had up there was current. So
okay.
Yeah, I mean the Diamondbacks have genuinely been a better team than everyone there. I don't think there's any question. The Diamondbacks are -15 this season. And ironically, the best run differential out of any of the teams in our all city division is actually the Chicago Cubs.
I knew
they're -11. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But the Rockies are -28 and the White Sox are -30. So yeah, I mean, I think in my playoff bracket, I have the White Sox going pretty far in the American League. So the early returns there are not great, but there's still time to turn things around. We'll have to see what happens.
There absolutely is. And of course, the best way to do that, Jesse, is doing it while on OG's gummies. I have no way to transition into it, but everything's better on OG's gummies. So that's the only reason. That's a simple transition for me because OG's gummies are amazing. They come in a variety of dosages. Obviously, we've talked about 10 milligram and their new 3 milligram microdose. And you can stop by your local dispensary and grab some amazing scratch made THC gummies from our friends at OG's. All of their varieties of flavors, all their definitely try their anything that's like creamsicle type thing, blackberries and cream, orange and cream, fantastic. Summery flavors like watermelon and fruit punch, perfect if you're in the mood for an uplifting sativa or a chill indica. And if you're interested in trying the amazingly delicious variety of flavors that OG's Brands has to offer, go to ogsbrands.com. That's OGEEZ brands.com to find OG's near you. But Jesse, I know everybody's bummed out. I know everybody needs a pick-me-up. I saw some people posting pictures of animals on my Twitter timeline. I saw all sorts of things where we Phoenicians, we Arizonans are sad, right? The Phoenix Suns are king of the valley. And I think they'll always be a lot of people's number one in their heart. But again, we here at the PHNX D-backs podcast implore you to allow us into a small piece of your heart. And we're going to do that for those of you that might not have joined us before on a Monday, by introducing you to a little thing we call mailbox.
Mailbox. Always something interesting in my mailbox. I try to get to everything in my mailbox. And then once in a while, there's a letter that makes me go, wow, wow, my mailbox.
See, doesn't that feel good? I mean, I think that some people are probably, they already feel better after that. But Jesse, of course, today is Mailbag Monday, and we are looking to you guys here in the chat. If you have any questions to ask about the Arizona Diamondbacks, drop them in the chat. We will get you in here. I know we have some good questions from Twitter that we got before we got on air. Our first question comes from Jose Grajeda, at Jose Grajeda 12. And he asks, Jesse, are there any good relievers in the minors that we could call up? And I know why you're asking this, but I guess the answer is yes, there are. There actually are quite a few guys, because I'm sure the Arizona Diamondbacks would love to bring up some of their young rookie arms and put them into a position of being a reliever and kind of getting their feet wet first before they might be considered as a starting pitcher, right? That's kind of the blueprint for a lot of their young guys.
I think so. From what we've heard from Mike Hazen in particular, it sounds like the D-backs are more inclined to make some of their young players earn those roles, and maybe have them start in the bullpen. And if they earn it, then maybe an opportunity in the starting rotation would open up at some point. But yeah, I mean, that seems to be a pretty good way to go. I think some of those guys are maybe better served in the bullpen long term anyway. We certainly hope that some of them will pan out in the starting rotation as well. But yeah, I mean, you're going to see Luis Frias back at some point, probably not too long from now. He already got a stint in the big leagues. The control has continued to be an issue for him, but I think we'll see him back relatively soon. Another name to keep in mind is Kevin Ginkel, who's still in the organization. He's pitched pretty well in Reno, especially of late. So I think it's entirely possible they bring him up and he serves a role in the bullpen. This bullpen, as we've talked at length, has not been great this season for the Diamondbacks. It's been one of the worst in the league.
What?
And they, yeah.
See, what do you mean the bullpen hasn't been good? What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
It's crazy, I know. But yeah, so I think it's pretty likely the Diamondbacks will shake things up a little bit down there, and naturally opportunities are going to come up with injuries and whatnot. So yeah, there should be a fair amount of depth in AAA that we're going to see reach the majors at some point this year.
And even right now, not in AAA, but with the Amarillo Sod Poodles, Bryce Jarvis has been incredible. Last night, in 6 innings, he gave up no runs, 2 hits, 1 walk, and 10 strikeouts. And again, just an incredible amount of talent that the Diamondbacks have that are right there. We've already talked about Corbin Carroll, a whole bunch, but as far as their pitching arms go, they do have some great young players that are ready to, ready to make that next step. And I think that's the reason why the Diamondbacks, again, chose not to make any significant moves, because there's a lot of guys right now that are right there. And I think, as crazy, I don't want to say that they're willing to sacrifice this season, but we're going to see them continue to do things that involve committing to Ian Kennedy and Mark Melanson. And I think even at times committing to the young arms going out there and making mistakes and getting that experience. I feel like this season we could label it as them playing, with house money. And, they have the opportunity here to still try to grow that next generation of players by giving them, time on the big league squad, but also not really being too concerned with the outcome of this season one way or another. It kind of sucks to say that, because right now at 18-17, this team is in a position to compete. And I just don't know if we're just getting excited about the early success that they've had, but I know a lot of fans don't want to see them sacrificing any part of the season for, any reason, because it seems like right now they're able to play and beat teams. They can beat baseball teams. They can be competitive. We've seen them beat some very good teams. The Clutch Canuck asks, with Ahmed being on the injured list, do you see Perdomo being the number one option at shortstop by the end of the year? That's a great question. At the end of the year, easily. I mean, easily we could see that. I'm not saying that that's definitively going to be the outcome, but I think the one thing here is that this team still doesn't have a lot of veteran leadership on the infield, and I think Nick Ahmed really does that. I feel like when he is out there at shortstop, he kind of anchors that defense, and we've seen them play substantially better with him out there, versus Perdomo out there.
Ahmed has had a pretty good season. The issue is that this shoulder just seems to be lingering. I know Chris mentioned it in the chat earlier. Jake Hager's been brought up from AAA Reno, and Nick Ahmed is now on the injured list. Nick, I think the job is Nick's if he's at the big league level, at least at this point. But it appears that this shoulder thing has kind of been nagging, and it also sounds like they don't really have a clear solution. It'll be interesting once we hear more from the team about what the plan is for Nick moving forward and how they're going to treat this, because what they've tried so far really hasn't worked. And so I think there's some concerns about this injured list stint and how long this could really drag on for. If it drags on for a while, Geraldo Perdomo, is going to get a lot of opportunity playing shortstop. I have no doubt that at least while Nick is on the injured list, Perdomo is going to be your guy on a day-to-day basis. And he's played pretty well. I mean, Perdomo is certainly not, knocked the cover off the ball this season, but he's played respectively. He still has a 350, 360 on base percentage. There's not a whole lot of power there. It's mostly walks and singles, but you'll take that from your shortstop. He's a solid defender. And like I said, he gets on base. So Giselle asks, could they consider surgery? That's a great question. I don't know enough about the situation to be able to answer that question, but usually when guys have injuries, it feels like there's a pretty standard protocol. They kind of know what they're doing. But when Nick had this shoulder issue in spring training, it kind of seemed then that they didn't really have a great solution for what was going on. Eventually he just kind of came back, and it just continued to nag him while he was playing. So I don't know. We'll have to see what Torey Lovello says when he speaks to the media next, because I don't know if they have a super clear route to getting Nick Ahmed healthy again.
And I think, to answer the question a bit further, I think Perdomo makes it easier for them, right? Like, if in one way or another, it's not like they don't have somebody
they have the
depth at shortstop, right? And
right.
The idea that Lovello constantly has about a baseball season is that it's a marathon, which it is, 162 games. To get someone like Nick Ahmed healthy and back later in the season might be right. It might be worth it to go with a surgery option if that is an option, rather than have him continue to have issues with it as the season, progresses, because they could eventually lose him to surgery and then maybe lose him for the rest of the season. But yeah, and Clutch Connect says Perdomo is playing more comfortable by the week.
Yeah.
I agree with that in every way. What you said, Clutch Connect. Perdomo, like, not only is he playing better, but his body language and his attitude, his interactions with his teammates when I'm out there watching batting practice, he just, these guys all seem part of the team very much already. Like, I will say that, unfortunately, Seth Beer, before he was let down, he looked very, distraught. And I saw that in Carson Kelly at times, even during batting practice. Like, these guys, once they kind of get in a slump, they do, I think they do feel like they have no idea of what's wrong exactly and how they can get themselves right. It's unfortunate to see, but other guys, like Alec Thomas, playing very loose for being a young guy that was just recently called up, and man, he was smashing the ball in batting practice. So it's a mentality. It's, the idea of belonging. That's something that Thomas told me when I spoke to him before the Cubs game, was he feels like he belongs already. And, again, with Perdomo and him, it's the idea that you do belong, and, getting over the idea of you being a rookie and all of this other stuff. They're going to make you do dumb shit like carry your lunch in a, little funny backpack and stuff. That's part of the gig, but it's all in love, right? And so I think what we've seen so far is a lot of the Diamondbacks players that were already on this team or part of their system playing extremely well. And really, so far, the parts that haven't been the working out is, the newer additions with Mark Melanson and Ian Kennedy. You could even say Zach Davies and Kyle Nelson have all worked out. So it's not even all of their new additions. It's just kind of the higher profile ones, right? And again, another question that we got that I kind of laugh at was from our friend Michael Rokicki. I'm calling him the Rock, the Icky Rock. He wanted to know, he's a troublemaker. He wants to know, is Patrick Corbin the only person to leave the Diamondbacks and get worse? And we know he's not.
Yeah,
but
no, he's not.
One thing I laugh about is when he said that, I did look, and when with all things considered, his best year ERA wise, if you care about that kind of thing, was with the Arizona Diamondbacks. He hasn't had a season where his ERA was as low as it was in 2018 when he was an all-star for the Arizona Diamondbacks. But he did also win a World Series elsewhere and was a big reason why the Nationals did that thing. So I don't know. I mean, the Diamondbacks, we get stuck on the guys that do go elsewhere and do achieve a great amount of success. The Max Scherzers of the world, even more recently, Robbie Ray. But Jesse, you're the first one to point out that there's a much lower percentage of guys that go on to do better things outside of this team than guys that don't. The majority of the guys that leave this team actually don't end up having a better season or a better career with someone else. But there are a handful of guys that we miss. And of course, because they were great and they would have been great with us, they would have been great elsewhere. It doesn't matter. I don't know. Robbie Ray is the one guy that I'm like, I don't know if he would have still been that good with us. Maybe he needed to leave to achieve that level of greatness.
He hasn't really been that great for the Mariners so far. He's been okay. I think he's been better than, he has like a 4.6 something ERA, which I think he has been better than that, but it still hasn't looked great for Robbie so far this year.
Right. But yeah, he definitely wasn't his 2.84 ERA that he had last season, right? He came right back down to a 4. Right now he's a 4.62 ERA. He's 4-3 in 8 starts. And I mean, with the Diamondbacks, he had a 2.89 ERA. He had a 3.93 ERA. He had a 4.34 ERA. So he had some great years here as an Arizona Diamondback. And I don't know necessarily if after all is said and done, his career is going to show that he went on to be like a Max Scherzer type. I feel like that year in Toronto was pretty special. Once again, you got to give credit where credit's due and wonder how much coaching has to do with that, right? There's a certain game plan for guys that coaches figure out. Pitching coaches are like Brent Strom aren't always the guys that are going to make guys, better. I know in the past, one of the criticisms about this, I guess about the Diamondbacks with players has been kind of, at least with like Madison Bumgarner, he's the one that kind of filled us in on this at one point, but like sometimes it's too much information being given to you. Right. And what's interesting is we know how much information that Brent Strom piled upon poor Zach Gallen in their very first meeting. So like,
well, that doesn't necessarily mean he like piled it on in like an unsolicited sort of way.
Right. It's all in
he
the
was
way.
Prepared. He was well prepared.
He was well prepared. Right. And exactly. It is about the way that the information is delivered, how it's shared with the person. Important. I think that there's probably with Brent Strom or even, just in general with this coaching staff, there's probably a different approach knowing these guys aren't all the same, right? You're not going to go to a Zach Gallen who loves numbers and stuff like that the same way that you're going to go to a Madison Bumgarner. There needs to be kind of a different approach. The information that's shared could be very similar, but the approach that you take with the two of them needs to be very different because Madison Bumgarner doesn't really care that much. I don't believe, based on interactions we've had with him, that Zach Gallen would care about numbers and stuff. Zach Gallen geeks out about this shit. That's what makes him such a great young player, is that Zach Gallen loves pitching stats and talking about his numbers and all of this stuff. It's incredible what this kid, loves about baseball, right? And again, that's a part that not everybody, like a Madison Bumgarner, an older soul, is gonna take that information the same way. So, again, it's you got to give credit to this to coaches, whether it's on our team or elsewhere. They really do make a big impact on these guys, and at times you can see it based on those numbers that they put up and their success. And again, it's not always the coaches, right? Sometimes it's there's other factors involved, the success of the team. I think right now the Diamondbacks really are pushing each other, and the starting rotation really is kind of getting the most out of each other because there's a high bar being set. I think there's a high bar being set by Strom and Lovullo and everybody. And so far they've done an exceptional job at meeting it. It's by far the Diamondbacks' biggest strength that has led them to this record that's pretty unexpected at this point.
Going back to the original question, I'm trying to think of examples of guys who left this team and actually did get worse. In addition to potentially Patrick Corbin being on that list, I recall Stephen Drew not being great after his time in Arizona. I don't think he really did much. I don't even remember a whole lot, frankly, about his career after the Diamondbacks. I don't think it really lasted that long. He had a few years as kind of a utility infielder. He wasn't really an everyday guy after his time with the D-backs. I also think about a guy like Brandon Drury, who seemed to be a promising young player, maybe not a superstar, but at least a guy who, was a valuable everyday big leaguer. And he really seemed to fall off after he was traded as well. So I think at the end of the day, people just remember more when a guy leaves the team and does better. Like, that's what you remember. If a guy leaves and they don't improve, then you just kind of forget about them. And so you're not always aware of those situations. But there's still some truth to people saying, there have been a number of players who have left this team and gotten better elsewhere. I mean, Max Scherzer is an slam dunk Hall of Famer. So those kinds of stories, there's still reason to be a little bit heartbroken over situations like that if you're a D-backs fan.
But then come on, Aaron Hill hit for the cycle twice in 1 year. He hit over 300 in 2 different seasons.
Yeah.
And after he left the Diamondbacks, he played for like 2 more seasons after he left the Diamondbacks. So like,
that's a good point.
Again, you don't always remember those, right? Aaron Hill is a guy a lot of people forget, by the way, considering how good he was for this team.
He was very good.
Number of years from 2011 through 2015. He was at times the best player on this team. And honestly, his name hardly ever comes up when you talk about like great players in Diamondbacks history. I think mostly because, certain guys get a reputation for playing somewhere for so long. And a lot of people remember Aaron Hill as a Toronto Blue Jay because that's where he started his season and that's where he played the majority of it. But he almost played as long here in Arizona and honestly had some of his best seasons here, including, come on, hit for the cycle in 2 fucking years. Come on, give the guy some credit. Bam in our comment asks, with the upcoming road trip, do you think the D-backs will remain 500? Great question. Jesse, I'm going to let you kick this one off.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty tough one to answer, but yeah, I mean, you've got the Dodgers in LA, which is always going to be tough. I think you'd be, yeah, there we go. So you got the Dodgers in LA. That's a 4-game set. I think splitting that series would be a great outcome. I think that's kind of a hard thing to count on, though. If anything, there's a decent chance you're looking at a 3 out of 4 on the Dodgers side with that series, and then you've got 3 with the Cubs after that. Maybe you're able to work, maybe you're able to get 2 out of 3 at Wrigley Field. If that happened, then the D-backs would come out of at least this week with an exactly 500 record. So maybe if I'm making a prediction, I guess that's probably what I would predict. But yeah, I mean, we haven't. It's been a while since the D-backs have been on the road, so we'll have to see if they're able to carry their momentum there.
I'm gonna say they go 4-3. I'm gonna say they take 2 out of 2 from the Dodgers and win the series against the Cubs at Wrigley. Get a little revenge there, even though they still haven't beat the
split.
Cubs.
So a split at Dodger Stadium over 4 games. That would be. I mean, Dodger fans would not be happy with that.
No. And why?
Which games? Which games are they going to win?
I am going. Let's take a look at the probables. I am going to give them 100% the start against Tyler Anderson, and I'm going to give them Merrill Kelly. I'm going to give them those 2. I think Merrill Kelly gets right and gets his first win in his career against the Dodgers. And those.
So they're gonna sweep. They're gonna sweep the doubleheader then.
That's what I'm suggesting is the doubleheader is going to be swept. I am not going to bet against Walker Buehler. That guy's too damn good. I will say I'm most intrigued by tonight's matchup, which is Tony Gonzalen versus Mad Bum, just because Mad Bum loves playing against the Dodgers. He has like 1 million starts against the Dodgers. So he really does. He has a lot of them. But we thank you guys again for all of your comments, all of your questions, all of your interactions in the chat. Of course, we implore you guys to go check out our friends at the DraftKings Sportsbook. The DraftKings Sportsbook has, let's be honest, now it's a very sad offer, and I'm not going to tell you what team to bet on, but new customers can get down on the NBA action by betting just $5 on any team to win, and you'll get $150 in free bets if they do. I'm just going to slip this in while I'm saying this thing. Let's be honest, with the way they played against the Dallas Mavericks, did you really think the Suns were going to win against the Golden State Warriors? Now that I said that, I'm going to keep on saying, look to turn a small bet into a big payday during the NBA playoffs. With DraftKings, new customers, existing customers can get down on same-game parlays, create your own parlay by combining multiple bets on any factors that you choose under the same-game parlay submenu. The more legs you win, the more legs you add, the more money you win. And boom, right now, all new customers, all existing customers can place the same game parlay with 3 or more legs, and you will get a free bet back up to $25 if one leg doesn't hit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PHNX, bet $5 on any NBA team to win their game, and get $150 in free bets if they do. That's promo code PHNX only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. 21 and over only, Arizona only. Gambling problem? Dial 1-800-NEXT STEP. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And we didn't even acknowledge this, Jesse, and I can't believe we didn't acknowledge this, but the Cincinnati Reds, Jesse, didn't allow a hit in a baseball game, but they lost the baseball game 1-0 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. What's very funny to me about this is, on top of the loss, Cincinnati doesn't even get the no-hitter because its pitchers didn't go at least 9 innings.
Yeah, it's not super common to not allow any hits and still lose the game. But That's the kind of team that the Reds have been this season, Derek. I mean, they're on a completely other level when it comes to how they've played this year. I've seen a lot of people do like these tiered power rankings. These are the elite teams. These are the, playoff, like good chance to make the playoffs teams. These are the mediocre teams. And every single tiered breakdown I see has like the Reds in their own category. They're just in like the Reds category. And yeah, I mean that baseball team is very, very bad. And I feel for a guy like Hunter Green, who pitched a heck of a baseball game, and he still had to turn it over to the bullpen. But yeah, there was no hope for a shared no hitter there.
You said something that was so true, right? About like this just being the type of thing to happen to the Reds this season, right? And to be honest, this felt like the exact kind of thing to happen to the Arizona Diamondbacks last season. I can relate to this so hard because this is the exact kind of thing.
They had 2 no-hitters, Derek. They had 2 no-hitters.
2 no-hitters last season. We're not taking. Did they give up any hits in the game? Did Madison Bumgarner give up any hits in a game that ended? Right. Like you said, it doesn't count. Just like this, it doesn't count because they didn't go the full 9 innings, and it's just a terribly Red things to happen this year. But of course,
the Diamondbacks won the game when Madison Bumgarner had his notable achievement. They at least won the game. It wasn't because there was another inning that they just wound up not actually pitching in. So yeah, very different situation.
I feel like Joe Mather has something to do with this. I can't explain it. I don't have any answer for it. I just feel like in the grand scheme of things, the transfer of Joe Mather to the Arizona Diamondbacks is what broke this curse potentially. I don't know. It's just a way for me once again to credit the Arizona Diamondbacks pitching staff for being so incredible, because they're really, really good. You asked in the chat, what is Madison Bumgarner's stats against the Dodgers? That's great versus the Dodgers. Madison Bumgarner is 15-15 with a 2.77 ERA in 37 career starts. He is 9-10 with a 2.72 ERA in 22 starts at Dodger Stadium. In his last start at Dodger Stadium on May 17th last year, he allowed 2 runs on 2 hits through 4 innings with 5 strikeouts. Through 4 innings, Jesse! That was the kind of shit that was going on last season. 2 runs through 2 fucking hits through 4 innings and with 5 strikeouts, and that's all he lasted was 4 innings. I have no explanation for it at all.
I think the issue with Mad Bum, especially against the Dodgers in games that he's pitched with the Diamondbacks, is he just doesn't pitch deep into games. He really has struggled to get deep into games consistently, and he's going to give up his runs. I think that's pretty well documented at this point. But if he can pitch into the 6th, 7th inning consistently, there's a lot of value there to be had, especially for a D-backs bullpen that's been not so great so far this year. So I think if Madison Bumgarner can just pitch into the 6th or 7th, that in itself would feel like a win tonight.
You know what I would do if I was in LA right now? I would slip Madison Bumgarner one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, Jesse. I don't know what it would do for him, but I'm pretty sure that it would make him feel great. Maybe he'd be in a better mood so he doesn't argue with the umpires as much. I don't know. We're definitely going to see a lot of barking tonight, but if I did, Madison Bumgarner would then be absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, adaptogens, and it would help him start his day right. I know I do it, and I do it because it makes me feel great, and I don't have to take antacids and things to make my esophagus and my I have a lot of heartburn issues, and they've all gone away using Athletic Greens. I have no answer for it as well. I don't even have to take Athletic Greens all the time for me to feel better, but I 100% credit the fact that I was on it religiously for feeling better. It supports better sleep quality and recovery. It has over 7,000 5-star reviews, and it costs you less than $3 a day to invest in your health, which is something, of course, that I don't invest in nearly as much. I don't invest in good cars because mine is currently out broken at a mechanic right now, and I definitely don't invest in my health enough, but I'm 41 and I need to do that. So to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/Diamondbacks. Again, that is athleticgreens/Diamondbacks, and take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Jesse, we thank you guys again so much. I thank you for being here with me. I know we got a big game tonight, and I think the Arizona Diamondbacks can make a lot of people here happy by maybe having Madison Bumgarner come out, be strong in this game, and win one for the state. You know, this would be a very uplifting night, I think, for sports fans here in the Valley.
That would be huge. That would really be huge. I mean, Mad Bum, the 1.78 ERA. I mean, the results have been really good for him so far. Like I said, there's some signs here that he's been pretty fortunate with the ball kind of bouncing his way so far. But I mean, we can forget that pretty quickly if Madison Bumgarner goes out and throws a gem against a lineup as good as what the Dodgers have. I mean, that would make a believer out of a lot of people. So this is a big one for him.
Follow us tonight on Twitter. If you want to join along, we'll be tweeting about the game over at PHNX_DBacks. You can follow me on Twitter at Cap_Caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. But of course, all roads lead to at PHNX_DBacks on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
I want to add a disclaimer real quick.
What?
That if you see anything from the PHNX D-backs Twitter account that's ridiculous, that makes no sense, it is always from Derek.
It's always Jesse.
Just keep that. If you see anything reasonable, if you see anything, any good stats,
I like to mix it up and throw in stat tweets to make people go, "Oh, is this Jesse? Oh, is it Derek?" No, it's all me. It was all me, and I was tricking you this whole time because I can do stat tweets too, but most of my tweets are in all caps and overreaction. So again,
that's fair.
You're following along. It'll be a fun game to guess who's tweeting from the account at what time. But of course, you guys, if you're watching us right now on YouTube, make sure to follow the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of our shows go live. You can always join us here in the chat. Hang out with us. We love to have you here. We love to chat with you, even when it's not Mailbag Monday. You can ask questions on this show whenever you want. Them's the rules. But of course, also, if you're listening to us on the favorite audio podcasting app, please subscribe to us there if you haven't done so already. Leave us a 5-star review only if you feel we deserve it. If you don't, leave us nothing, but then think about it, reconsider, and then leave us a 5-star review. Of course, we thank you guys again so much for joining us, for giving us your time, spending your time with us. On behalf of Jesse and myself, we always appreciate you doing that. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you beat LA.